Hello everyone, I'm Oleksandr Trofimekov, the brand chef of KICA Pastry Academy. Today I'm going to show you how to prepare the ganache to fill the macarons with. Ganache is the mixture of chocolate and liquid, and it is used to fill the macarons, chocolate bonbons, and to make truffles. It can also be used to fill and glaze tarts, tartlets, and cakes. The texture of the ganache depends on the ratio of chocolate to liquid. A greater proportion of liquid produces a runnier ganache, while the greater proportion of chocolate creates a firm ganache. The main issue with the ganache is the broken emulsion, when the fat comes out to the surface, and instead of the smooth ganache we obtain a grainy and oily texture. Another issue is that the ganache may be too firm or too liquid, because of the wrong recipe ratio. For each type of pastry there is the best suitable ratio of liquid to chocolate. And now I'll share my basic ganache recipe, which works best for filling the macarons. The perfect ganache for the macarons should be smooth, glossy and homogeneous. But this is not enough. To succeed in piping and assembling beautiful macarons, you should start piping the ganache when its texture is perfect. To do this, you should check the texture of the ganache during cooling and use it once it's ready. To show you the way how to prepare the ganache for the macarons, I chose the dark chocolate ganache recipe flavored with vanilla. In this recipe I'm using dairy cream, 35% fat, dark chocolate, 70% cocoa content, some salt, inverted sugar, glucose syrup, and dairy butter, 82% fat content. To begin with, I will flavor the cream with vanilla. To do this, I'm gonna split the vanilla in half first, and then I will scrape the seeds. Apart from vanilla, you can flavor this ganache with other things as well. Zests of citrus fruits, different herbs and spices, tea or coffee, any of these things will flavor the ganache really well, creating a unique taste and flavor. Along with the seeds, I will add the vanilla pod to the cream as well. It has lots of flavor and will make the ganache even more aromatic. Now, I will put the cream on the cooker and I'll reheat it to 80 degrees Celsius. There are two ways to make the infusion. The first one, the hot method, is the one I'm using now. You just need to put the aromatic ingredient in the liquid, in the cream in my case, and bring everything to 80 degrees Celsius or even to the boil. Then cover with the lid or with the plastic and let to infuse for about 30 minutes at room temperature. During this time, the aroma from the vanilla in my case will transfer to the cream and will make the cream more aromatic and flavorsome. The second method is the cold method. To infuse the cream using the cold method, you just need to put the aromatic ingredient in the liquid, in the cream, for example, cover with the plastic or with the lid and put in the fridge for 12 hours. Such long infusion produces more delicate taste that lasts longer. So as I told you before, I'm using the hot method. It is much faster and is easier to use if you work in a professional kitchen. However, the taste obtained by this method doesn't last as long as the one achieved by the cold infusion. So for the hot methods, as I mentioned before, I need to warm up the cream to 80 degrees Celsius. You can even boil the cream, it is even better in terms of microbial stability. Okay, now it's 80. I turn off the heat. And now I will put the plastic on top and let the cream infuse for 30 minutes. After half an hour, the cream has infused with vanilla and I can remove the plastic wrap. It has also cooled down a bit and it is perfect since I need it at 35 degrees Celsius. Now I will add the next ingredients. First, I will add the salt. We use it in the recipe just to enhance the taste of the chocolate and balance the sweetness. Then I will add inverted sugar. Inverted sugar is a kind of sugar which is widely used in pastry kitchens. It is used to prolong the shelf life of the product since it binds moisture really well and prevents the crystallization of sugar. Since it has the ability to bind moisture, it will help to prevent the products from drying, and thus it is highly advisable to use in ganaches. If you don't have the inverted sugar, it's not a big deal. The regular honey is the natural inverted sugar, and you can use it in this recipe with the same result. The next ingredient is the glucose syrup. The glucose syrup is another kind of sugar which is widely used in pastry kitchens. It has similar properties to inverted sugar, though some are a little bit different. The glucose syrup prevents the crystallization of sugar and prolongs the shelf life of the product by binding the moisture the same way the inverted sugar does. However, this ability is slightly lower than in the inverted sugar, but the glucose syrup gives elasticity to the products it is added to and enhances the texture. Thus, it is recommended to be added to the ganaches. I will add the glucose syrup now. The advantage of the glucose syrup is that it is not as sweet as the regular sugar and the inverted sugar as well, and it dissolves easily. And now I'll mix everything together until the inverted sugar and the glucose syrup dissolve. And then I will strain everything onto the chocolate. The temperature of the chocolate and the cream is really important. As I told you before, the temperature of the cream is 35 degrees Celsius now, and the chocolate has the same temperature as well. It is vital to have these two ingredients at the same temperature to ensure the proper emulsion and not to destabilize the cocoa butter which is present in the chocolate. If you heat the chocolate too much, to 40 degrees or higher, the cocoa butter crystals melt, and thus the ganache is drier and not as stable as the one prepared using this method. After the addition of the cream, I will emulsify everything using the hand blender. It is important to use this instrument to ensure the proper combination of the fat and the water present in these ingredients. I will start blending on low speed, and it is best not to add too much air bubbles, because they will affect the stability of the ganache. After blending, I will check the temperature of the ganache, and if it is below 35 degrees Celsius, it is perfect. The cocoa butter hasn't decrystallized, and our ganache will have the perfect texture. Now it looks like this. It is quite thick, elastic, shiny, smooth. Looks delicious. This is how it is meant to be. And now I'll add the last ingredient. It's the butter. The butter is softened. It is at room temperature, around 22-21 degrees Celsius. So it is not melted, not too soft, but not too hard as well. Such temperature is important because our goal is not to melt the butter, but to make it mix with other ingredients really well. And by having it at 20-21 degrees and adding it to the ganache when it is around 30-35 degrees Celsius is just perfect. I will add the butter now. You can add all at once if you don't have a lot. And then again, the ganache has to be blended with the hand blender. After blending the ganache with butter, it turns a little bit more liquid, but it's still really stable. The shine has increased. It looks really good. The addition of butter makes the ganache softer since it has the concentrated dairy fat, and the dairy fat interferes with the crystallization of the cocoa butter, and hence the ganache for the macarons is much softer in the fridge than without the addition of butter. When the ganache is ready, I will transfer it to the clean mixing bowl and cover it with the plastic wrap touching the surface. Then I will leave it to crystallize at room temperature at 18-21 degrees Celsius for about 30 minutes to 1 hour. Made using this method, it crystallizes really fast and it can be used almost immediately. After some time at room temperature, which is from 18 to 20 degrees Celsius, the ganache should set to this kind of texture. It is really smooth, but holds the shape well. And it is perfect to serve as a filling for the macarons. So now I'll take a piping bag, I'll put the ganache inside, and I'm gonna fill these macarons with the chocolate ganache. And you'll see how smooth and shiny its texture is. Okay, so the ganache is in the bag, and I'll pipe it on the macaron. See, the texture is super stable, shiny, and is ready within just a few hours. Perfect. This is because we followed the correct procedure for the preparation and the precise temperatures. That's why it is very important both to follow the recipe and to know the basics behind the ganache preparation.